In October of 2020, we hosted our first Calvary Volunteer Fair. While Calvary has always been a church made up of incredible volunteers, that night was a pivotal step for us as a church as we formalized over 30 ministry teams and activated an army of volunteers in a way we had never done before. The people of Calvary jumped in with both feet and began working and serving in incredible ways. In the fall of 2020, when there was so much uncertainty and difficulty gathering indoors, our evangelism team came together on Saturday morning for walks through the streets of Fountain Square. During this time, the team would pray for the families and individuals in our neighborhood and for revival in our city. Over these months, our First Impressions team began working and trying to find ways to make connections with each and every guest who came through the doors of Calvary Tabernacle. It was a major milestone the day we installed our brand new Welcome Center, where thousands of first-time guests have now come and made connections with our team. In January of 2021, Pastor Carson cast vision for the year with the theme, Pursue. And the people of Calvary did just that. That same month, we launched This Is Home, our 3-week new members course that meets on Sunday mornings. Since then, we have seen over 400 people go through this journey, learning what we believe and learning how they can make Calvary their home. Over the next year, as our Connect groups were activated, we saw countless life-changing events take place, like marriage seminars, kids revivals, men's and ladies events, youth revivals, Spanish revivals, and so many more. Many of those events were made possible by the sacrificial giving and work that went into a building of brand new kitchen in our fellowship hall. Throughout this time, our Spanish ministry, which began as a small Bible study, has grown to a full Spanish service with an average attendance of 60 people every Saturday. Today, we are thankful to have an incredible group of Spanish-speaking families who call Calvary their home. And as a church, we are more committed than ever to reaching our Spanish-speaking community. In the fall of 2021 at our Mid-America Revival Conference, Brother Wayne Huntley spoke these words with boldness, that as we are coming out of the pandemic and many churches are closing their doors, God is going to give those same buildings to apostolic churches. And it was only a few months later God put a beautiful church building in our hands in the wonderful area of downtown Greenwood. Today we have a growing Calvary campus in Greenwood and Plainfield, and we're trusting God for continued revival in those communities. In the weeks following, God spoke to our pastor and gave him a burden to have a tent revival. There was nothing easy or convenient about it. But in a matter of a few short weeks, the people of Calvary rallied together and we held our Circle City tent revival with Victor Jackson right on our Keystone property. We will never forget what it was like as the Spirit of God moved through there and 15 people were baptized. In 2022, Pastor Carson cast a vision for what would be a historic year at Calvary Tabernacle. He preached an unforgettable message, The People Had a Mind to Work, and launched us into Kingdom Work 2022. Over the course of that year, the members of this church stepped out in faith and gave of their finances and of their time to accomplish a major remodel of our Fountain Square campus. From the youngest to the oldest, we saw the people of Calvary come together to prepare our main campus for a new season of revival. And over the course of those months, as we gathered for services at our summer home, God empowered our evangelism team and allowed them to build connections in new communities. We saw many people from that area come through the doors of our summer home. We saw people baptized. We saw people filled with the Holy Ghost. And some of those baptisms even took place in Stone Lake Apartment swimming pool. Lives were touched by the block party we had there and Bible studies that took place at Stone Lake. On August 14th, 2022, we had our last service at our summer home. Pastor Carson preached the testimony of an empty suitcase and challenged us not to go back to our building empty-handed, but to go back with new passion and revival in our suitcase. A week later, we came together for the first time in our newly remodeled building, and it was awesome. But just as exciting as our remodeled sanctuary was our brand new gathering space, a place where families and friends can gather, where Bible studies can be taught, and where connections with other believers can be made. While God was guiding us and helping us reshape the structure of our building, God made it clear to the leadership of this church that in order to facilitate the revival He was sending us, we would also need to build and shape the structure of our systems and teams. In the fall of 2022, Calvary appointed 14 department directors and over 60 serve team, connect group, and interest group leads. These leaders have done a phenomenal job taking on more responsibility and empowering individuals they lead to do incredible things. The mission of Calvary: to reach, connect, and disciple people toward Jesus Christ. And in January of this year, Pastor Carson casted vision for 2023 with the theme Mission Forward. Over the course of this year, we have watched incredible growth, both numerically and individually. We have seen people drawn to Calvary from all over. We've seen people baptized. We've seen people filled with the Spirit, people knit into the family of God, and lives changed forever. First and foremost, we know that none of these things are possible without the hand of God on our efforts. But we also know that none of this is possible without the countless volunteers, many of whom will never hold a microphone or stand on a stage, showing up time and time again to help us continue to reach, connect, and disciple. Once again, we find ourselves in a transition period. God has been preparing us and is asking us to step out in faith, out of what is comfortable to us, to make room for a new season of revival. As we set out on this journey with brand new gathering times and new service formats, we are trusting the people of Calvary to do what you've always done. We will rise to the challenge, and we will continue to give ourselves to kingdom work. If you haven't joined a Calvary Serve team, there has never been a better time than now. As we stand here today reflecting on how far we've come since our first volunteer fair nearly 3 years ago, we thank God for where He has brought us, and we look ahead with excitement and anticipation for what God is doing here in Indianapolis.